Now I'm going to do a quick claying of the blade portion of my kukuri. And what this is going to do is two things. One, it's going to prevent a hardened spine of my blade. And also it might give a slight hamon, which means that the spine will be softer than the edge, which will create a wavy line. This is 5160 tool steel, by the way. It was a leaf spring off a 1970 Ford Bronco. And so I'm going to use my own local clay that I extract from the creek here, because it's free. Best kind is the free kind. Use what you got. That's what I always say. Right now I'm cleaning with a little bit of acetone. Acetone dries nice and clean, leaves no residue so that the clay can stick to it. As you can see, I'm getting some schmutz off here. Clean it up real nice. That way the clay has something to bind to, stick to. Okay. Give that a second to dry. And I'll smear on my own little special local clay. It's basically just your average West Virginia creek clay mixed in with a blend of sawdust, metal filings, and other things like that. And what that does is keeps it from cracking once it dries. And it's not quite wet enough. As you can see, it's trying to stick on me, so I just added a little dip of water in my clay here. Make a nicer little thinner, finer slurry here. And that should spread a lot better. Oh yeah, there we go. That's what we want. You want it about the consistency of cake frosting. Oh. I'm just using a popsicle stick here. I'll do both sides like this. Every once in a while, if it gets too dry on me, I'll just give it a quick dip in water. Wet it down real nice. I want a nice smooth surface. Just like that. I also put a very thin layer just on the blade. This keeps the decarb down, which is that oxidation layer that occurs in the forge. All right. So, Okay, now I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. Okay, ready to do the second side now. Just going to give my remaining clay a nice little mix here. Make sure it's nice and wet. Start smearing. As you can see, it's starting to scuff, so it's getting dry. Just dip in water, that fixes that problem. And you can also get too wet, which is what I have right now, right here. So just add some more drier clay. And also don't go too thick on this. The thicker it is, the more it tends to crack. About 1/16, maybe 3/32 thick. Just a nice little protecting layer. Okay, a little bit of water. I'm just going to try to build up some of the spine clay here. A little bit. It's just a hair thin right there. Just a nice gentle hand. And a little wet. May have to do a second layer once this dries a little bit. Generally, you got to touch it up a little bit. And what I do basically to touch up, just get my stick wet and just run over the cracked spot and smooth it back out, and that seems to work nicely. Or add a little clay to a place that is a little thin. I can build this up here a little bit and then come back, just smear it a little bit. I can also clean that up once it dries a little bit and smear it out. You'd be surprised how quickly this clay goes back to wet, even if it's dried. Now, once it's been fired and baked on, it's hard as a rock. It becomes basically like pottery. And then you will not wet it anymore. Okay. And that is my clay. It'll take 3 to 4 hours at least to bake that on. You can speed the process up by sliding it into your forge. After it's shut off, of course. Don't ever stick it in your hot running forge, but you can speed that up by sticking it in a forge that's been cooling off for a half hour or so. That's a couple 100 degrees, and bake it on a little quicker, but I've noticed that it tends to crack more when you do that. So I typically just let it harden on its own and dry on its own. And then I can always touch it up if I need to. But that is hamoning my blade. Well, not hamoning, but claying my blade for a hamon and a differential heat treat. Mainly just to keep the spine from hardening when I go to do my hardening quench in my mixture of oil that I use. All right, thanks for watching.